Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you my favorite snack. And since this week on Weight Watchers are talking about snacks, I am going to be making my 0 point chicken jerky. My homemade chicken jerky. We're going to start off by a 1/4 cup of Great Value soy sauce. Open the cap here. Just pour that in there like so. Then next, we are going to use some liquid smoke. I personally like the hickory kind, but if you like mesquite, you can get mesquite. So, and this is a brand new bottle, so bear with me while I try to open it here. Alright, I got it open now. So, the hickory liquid smoke, we are going to be adding 2.5 tablespoons. So 1, 2, there we go, close enough. There's the half. Next, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I usually have Great Value, but they were sold out and I haven't been able to get any, so I'm using the Kroger kind. Now, the soy sauce, though, the soy sauce, you want it to be the Great Value brand, because in the amount we're using for the soy sauce, it's actually less points, which helps it to be 0. This makes a big, huge batch anyway, so it would still end up being 0, but the soy sauce, you do want it to be the Great Value brand if you can. So, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I'm probably saying that wrong too. I don't even know. You guys can tell me how you guys say it. That's another one of those hard ones. Although I did learn that the quinoa that I was always saying, it's quinoa. I did learn that. Everybody telling me that. So thank you. Because I honestly did not know how to say that. Next is Swerve brown sugar. You can have this for 0 points as well. So the Swerve brown sugar is another ingredient that is kind of important to have that particular one. Unless for some reason you can't have this version of the sugar replacement, then you're going to want to use whatever brown sugar replacement you typically use. But so far, this is the lowest point that I've found. So 2 tablespoons of the Swerve brown sugar. If it'll come out. I didn't want to come out. Alright, next we are going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. Now, I just have this pink salt, pink Himalayan salt, but you can use whatever kind you normally use. And yes, I know we added soy sauce and we're adding more salt, but it helps with the preserving it and all that good stuff. Besides, all the salt will help you get your water intake for the day. Alright, so after the 2 teaspoons of salt, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of meat tenderizer. I just have this particular one. And I actually only have a little tiny bit left of this. So I'm just going to add the rest in. Now this particular tenderizer doesn't have any MSG or anything in it, so that's a good one. Alright, next after the tenderizer, we are going to add some black pepper. Now, this would kind of be to your liking. The original recipe that I went by, that I used, is a half a teaspoon of black pepper. But I really like the flavor of fresh cracked black pepper. So since I originally wrote the recipe, I've started adding more. But if you're not a big fan of black pepper, then just stick to the half teaspoon. There we go. Okay, and after the black pepper, we're going to add onion powder. I just got the Great Value brand. And you're going to want 1 teaspoon approximately of onion powder. I grabbed another unopened container. About 1 teaspoon. And what the heck, we'll go a little extra. We like onion in this house. And the great thing about this recipe too is, I mean, once it's cooked and all done, you can have it out in a Ziploc bag or an airtight container. You can have it out for up to a week. I mean, I wouldn't push it past 4 or 5 days. I'd put it in the refrigerator after that, personally. But if it even lasts that long, you could have it out for up to a week. I've done that before. Now, the next thing is garlic powder. And you're going to add a teaspoon of garlic powder as well. And then our last ingredient for the marinade is going to be smoked paprika. Now, paprika is one of those things that has points when you use a certain amount. I've never really counted seasoning unless I know it has sugar or a high amount of sugar or something like that in it. So I've never actually really counted the smoked paprika. But even when counting the points and putting this recipe in your recipe builder in your app per serving, it is still 0 points for this recipe. And that's for all plans except for, well, the green one, you're going to have to count the chicken breast. So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of this smoked paprika. Now, if you don't have the smoked paprika, you can use regular paprika, but the smoked paprika really does give it a great flavor. So you really do want that. Okay, now I'm just gonna get my little whisk here, and I am definitely not left-handed. And the way I have to have my camera set up, because I have a tiny, tiny kitchen. So the way I have to have my camera set up, I gotta use my right side to put the camera in the light. There we go. Just mix up the marinade. I gotta whisk with my right hand. Sorry, guys. There we go. She's all good and mixed. Now, your chicken breast, I'll show you how I cut that up. Alright, I just got my chicken breast here. I cut the top off before I showed you the bag, but it's just chicken breast. Boneless, skinless chicken breast. So, what I do is I just get my piece out like so, and I get clean kitchen scissors. I actually have multiple pairs of scissors that I use in my kitchen. One is specifically for cutting meat like chicken and stuff like that, and you're just going to cut it in about 1/4 inch strips, and you are going to cut it across the grain. If you cut it across the grain, it ends up turning out better and not as tough. But you just want it in little strips like this. If you have huge chicken breast pieces, let's see, I don't know if you can, here, let me put this other one down, probably easier to see the piece, but it's about the size of my finger, about 1/4 inch thick. And I find it easier if you purchase the frozen chicken breast, because they're already kind of thin, and it just makes it easier to cut them like this. Now, if you don't like touching the raw chicken breast, or if you have a thing about touching meat or something, or you just don't feel comfortable with doing it, then you can always ask the butcher to give you about 3 pounds, because this recipe makes about, you can use about 2 to 3 pounds of meat, and just ask the butcher to cut you about 3 pounds of chicken breast into 1/4 inch strips. And I mean, they're usually pretty good about it, and they'll help you out. I've had them do it for me before, but they usually charge you extra when you do this, so that's why I normally just do it myself, because I'm a mom of 4 and I try to be frugal when I can. So that's how I do it. You want about 3 pounds of chicken breast. You want them to be cut up into 1/4 inch strips. Now, see how this has got a little bit of fat on it like that? You're going to want to cut off all of the fat. You don't want any of the fat, any of the skin. Not only because, well, the fat has points in Weight Watchers, but because the fat, when you go to dehydrate it, is going to make your jerky spoil quicker. So you don't want that. I'm dropping my chicken. Yeah, so if you have fat on it, cut it off. The fat will make it spoil quicker. See, I kept actually one big chicken breast out so I could show everybody, but when I have a big giant piece like this, what I normally do is I just try to go across the grain and just cut it like that. But it is easier to cut them when it is the frozen ones that you thawed. And if you don't have kitchen scissors that you use, another good little tip is to use the chicken breast while it's partially frozen. So just line your chicken breast out on a freezer cookie sheet or something, and just freeze your chicken breast for like 45 minutes, half hour, so it's frozen but not completely frozen. And then you'll be able to cut it with a knife really thin that way as well. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up the rest of my chicken, and I'll show you everything. Alright, got all my meat cut up here, all my chicken, and you're just going to want to mix it around until every single piece is completely coated with that marinade. Now, you really only have to let it sit for like 12 to 18 hours, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you let it sit for a good 24 to even 48 hours before you get it going and dehydrating it, it is going to be better. The longer you let it wait, up to 48 hours, the better it will be. And this recipe is absolutely delicious. And you not only, if you don't have a food dehydrator or a way to dehydrate your food, then you can use the oven. I've actually done this recipe in the oven before I had a food dehydrator, because my food dehydrator had broke, and I didn't realize it till I already made up the jerky, and not wanting it to go to waste, I just used the oven. So I'm going to now that I got it all mixed and coated, I'm just going to cover this up, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, And I'm going to let it sit for probably a day or two, and then I will come back and show you what I do next. Something else I wanted to mention, I forgot to mention, but I moved it into a bag just to store it in the refrigerator easier. But every now and then, probably every few hours, if you're doing it for a while, then do it like every 12 hours or something. It doesn't have to be exact, but once in a while, you're going to want to just go in and kind of move it around and massage it a little bit, trying to get all that flavor goodness moved around a little bit. And something else I wanted to mention, if you like it spicy, another thing you can add to the marinade that I've done before is you can either add crushed red pepper. Once you lay it out on your dehydrator or your oven sheet, that's when I would add the crushed red pepper. Or if you want to add it to your marinade, just add a little bit of the cayenne pepper to your marinade itself when you're mixing it, if you like it spicy. So there is another tip for you. Hello guys, all right, I'm back, and this is my chicken jerky. I let it sit in my refrigerator for about 36 hours, and every now and then I just kind of went in and, you know, did the little mixy mix, and as you can see, most of the liquid is actually absorbed into the chicken. And that is why you let it sit longer, because it marinates and just gets delicious. But now that I got my chicken out, I'm going to get my dehydrator going, and I'll show you how I get it all going. Alright guys, I have a Kasori food dehydrator, and this is my first tray. Don't worry if you get the juice all over the sides and stuff like I did. It cleans off relatively easy with a scrub brush. It's not that big of a deal. But anyway, so you're going to want to layer it like how I did, so there's lots of space in between each piece. You don't want any sides touching, because then it won't cook right. So just make sure there's plenty of space in between each piece and each layer, and you're going to want to fill all of your trays up and then put your lid on, and then you're gonna dehydrate this for about 6 to 8 hours on 165 degrees. Now if yours goes up to 180, mine particular machine does not, it goes up to 165. But if your machine goes up to 180, then you can do 180 for 6 hours. Now, you're going to want to rotate the trays about every hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. Flip the chicken. And once your time is done, I usually do about 6 hours. If you're worried because it's raw chicken breast, that we cooked, dehydrated it and cooked it that way, if you're worried about the chicken breast being fully cooked, then turn your oven on to 400 degrees and cook it for about 5 minutes in the oven. And that will bring it up to temp, and you won't have to worry. Another thing is, if you don't have the food dehydrator like this, you don't have to use it. You can use this in an oven. Just get the baking trays and line it with aluminum foil. Get a rack on top of the baking tray. Then, okay, sorry about that. My camera died on me. I had to plug it in real quick. But anyway, so if you don't have a food dehydrator like I do, then you can do this in the oven. Preheat your oven to 180 degrees. Now, you're going to use a baking sheet, or if you want, you can just do it right on the racks in the oven. But you're going to want to line them with aluminum foil underneath. That way any dripping and stuff is not in the bottom of your oven in a huge, huge, gigantic mess. So what you're going to want to do is get your racks, your baking sheet or your racks, and you're going to want to bake it in the oven with the oven door cracked just a little tiny bit. You're going to bake it for about 4 hours at 180 degrees. You're going to rotate it about every hour, and you're going to want to flip them and check them as well. And the same thing, all you have to do is let it cool off completely and then put it in an airtight container when it's done. It's really easy, really simple. So 180 degrees in the oven on a rack or a baking sheet lined with aluminum foil and a rack on top. Cook it for about 4 hours with the oven door cracked just a little tiny bit. And that just lets the moisture get out of the oven so it actually dehydrates. And then rotate and flip about every hour. Or if you're using a dehydrator, I'm doing 165 degrees for about 6 hours. When all this is done cooking, I'll show you my final product. One thing I wanted to mention real quick is if you did want to add a little spice to it, at this point is where you're going to want to add the crushed red pepper on top of the chicken. YouTube!
Hi, YouTube. I mean, kid. I put that. Where are that?
Oh, you're going to show YouTube your car? Okay.
My car.
Here is the finished product of the chicken jerky. It is absolutely delicious.
Hello. Hello.
It is absolutely...
Hello.
Okay. Chill. It is absolutely delicious. It's very family friendly, and the kids are really excited to dig into this, and I said they had to wait until after I did this. So, as you can hear, I better hurry up. But here, I just dehydrated it in my food dehydrator at 160.
Hello. Hello.
Okay. Shh. Okay. It is absolutely delicious. And hello, YouTube. Okay, this is the final product, and it is absolutely delicious. I'll tear a piece open for you. It is amazing, and it tastes great, like regular beef jerky. It tastes like beef jerky. It's delicious. And the 3 pounds of meat, makes about 1 pound after it's dehydrated. Now this little bit right here, this is what I put the crushed red pepper flakes on when it was dehydrating. And this definitely has a kick to it, but let me tell you what, if you like spicy, you should definitely try the crushed red pepper flake on top. And there we go. There is my 0 point, Weight Watcher friendly, protein snack, chicken jerky. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more.
Stop.